Okay, guys, so let's begin now. So, everyone, am I audible clearly?
Yes, Samir.
Okay, so now let's begin the process. So, okay, guys, so now let's start with the Azure Databricks. Let's brush it up once and then we'll move further with the practicals today. Okay,
Right.
guys.
Sure.
Okay, so Azure Databricks. So, Azure Databricks is what? Basically, this is a service, guys. That means it's a cloud service. It's a cloud service. And whereas when we talk about this cloud service, this is a cloud service provided by Azure. That means what? So Microsoft is the, marketing. Microsoft is marketing their cloud services. Microsoft is marketing the cloud services, their cloud services with a name called what? Azure. Okay. So whereas the following are the, the we have the fall that is this Azure Databricks is one of the cloud service provided wherein it is used to perform the following jobs. What is that? We can perform the data migration job. We can perform the data migration job, and then we can perform the data integration job, and then we can also perform the data summarization, and then we can also perform the data visualization. Okay, so these are all the jobs we can perform it by using the Azure Databricks. Wherein, guys, everyone, wherein when we talk about the, there is nothing but the whole process. This whole story starts from the data that is called as the data. Data means what? Information. So generally we get this information from where? From any kind of a source. Okay, where the business is carried out. We can get the data from any of the source. Okay, we can get the data from any of the source. Okay, so we can get the data from any of the source, guys. What is that? We can get the data from the any of the source. What is that source? So that is nothing but the business. Ultimately, what is it? The business. We can get the data. So that business can be what? Social networking sites. Okay, it can be the social networking sites. It can be the social networking sites, and then we can get the data from the banking applications. And then we can also get the data, okay, from what is it? IoT sensors. IoT sensors means what? Internet of Things. Okay, IoT sensors, and then we can also get the data from that is something but human generated data. Human generated data, it can be the machine generated data. Okay, the data which is generated by the machine, such as, okay, machine generated data. The machine generated data, such as you have, guys, everyone, ECG machine is there. Okay, so
Okay.
ECG machine which generates the, what's that? Some data here. In the same
Yes.
way, that is called as what? Machine generated data. Okay, so whereas these are all the various, okay, these are all the that is nothing but the various sources of getting the data, where, guys, where this data is referred as what, everyone? It is called as the big data. It is called as what? Big data. Whereas big data, we also call it as what? For our understanding, we can also say it as huge data, or we can also say it as massive data, etc. Whatever the word you want, you can use it here. Okay, big data or massive data. Whereas when we talk about the big data, this is classified into how many categories, guys, everyone? The big data is classified into, that means how many type of big data we can have? Three types. The first
Three
one is
types:
yeah,
structured,
yes,
unstructured,
structured data, and the second one is what?
unstructured data.
Yeah, we can say semi-structured.
Yes.
Then we can also have what's that? Unstructured data. Am I right?
Yes.
So these
Yes.
are the three categories of data we can have. So these are the three different categories of data we can have: structured, semi-structured, and as well as the unstructured data. Okay, structured, unstructured, and the structured, semi-structured, and the unstructured data. Structured data means what? The data which is kept
Yes.
in the form of a table,
Table.
that is in the form of what? Rows and columns, proper rows and columns. You know already what we have. Okay, detailed, we have seen this in detail yesterday. Okay, rows and columns, the data which is recorded in the form of what? Rows and columns, that is called as what? Structured data, guys. That is called as what? Structured data. That is called as structured data. In the same way, semi-structured data means what? The data which is recorded in the form of what is it? JSON file or in the form of a XML file is called as what? Semi-structured data. Am I right? Where the data which the user cannot understand completely, but still the user can understand the data. That is called a semi-structured data. In the same way, guys, in the same way, what happened?
Your screen presentation is off.
Yes, just a minute. Okay, the next one is what already have it? Unstructured data. So unstructured data means what? Yes, unstructured data means what? The data which does not has any structure, such as you can say, okay, your photos in the mobile phone, okay, photos in the mobile phone or videos, okay, or videos, etc. These are all called as what's unstructured data. Okay, some kind of a type text, all kind of a data, okay, is called as what? Unstructured data. So whereas these are the three different categories of data we can have: structured, semi-structured, and as well as what's it? Unstructured data. Structured, semi-structured, and as well as the unstructured data. Whereas, guys, to store this data in Azure, we have what is that? Whether you have structured, semi-structured, or unstructured. To store the data, we have what's it? Azure storages. We have what's it? Azure storages. So what are the Azure storages we have it, guys? Everyone, we have the following Azure storages are there. What's it? The first one is what? Azure blob storage, and then we have what's it? Azure data lake Gen 2, and the third one we can say Azure SQL DB, that is Azure SQL database, you can say. And fourth one is we can say Azure Cosmos DB. And then we can have what's that? Azure, okay, Azure what's that? Cosmos DB is there, Azure SQL database is there, and then Azure Synapse Analytics. Okay, then we can also say that we also have a storage that is called as what? Yes, Azure Elastic Pools. Likewise, you have many storages are available. So totally in Azure, as yesterday we have discussed, we have how many storages, guys? We have 90 plus storages are available. How many? 90 plus storages are available into the same. Okay. Whereas, whenever we have these many storages, every storage can store a different type of data, or every storage is designed for storing the different type of data, where the Azure Blob storage is a in a very flexible storage which can store any kind of data. What it can store? It can store either the structured data, guys. It can store either the structured data, or else it can store the semi-structured data. It can store the semi-structured data, and it can also store the unstructured data. So these are all the, can you see here? Structured, semi-structured, and as well as the unstructured. Any kind of data we can store it here. But this is a limited storage. This is a limited storage. And whereas if the same data you wanted to store in the Azure Data Lake Gen 2, here it is supported for all. What's it? We can store the structured, semi-structured, and as well as the unstructured data. We can store it here. Whereas this can store what? All structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. But unlimited storage. You can store up to whatever the limit you have it. But when we talk about the, yes guys, when we talk about the Azure SQL database, as it's an SQL database, it can store only the, what is that? It can store only the structured data, but whereas the semi-structured and the unstructured is not supported here. And when you talk about the Cosmos DB, guys, Cosmos DB is called as what? No SQL database. It's called as what? No SQL. So whenever you have a no SQL database, that means we can store what? We can store the, yeah, unstructured. That is, we can store the structured and the semi-structured. Both the type of data we can store it into the Azure Cosmos DB. And Azure Synapse. As you know that the Synapse is the data warehouse of Azure. As you know that this is the data warehouse of Azure, DWH of Azure. So it can store only what is that structured data. No other kind of a data is supported here except the structured data. Okay. So generally we store the structured data only because it's the final layer of the data now, where the data will be reached at the final layer. From there directly reporting is done. Again, you have a elastic pool. Elastic pool means what? It's a group of databases. So it can also store what's that? Structured data, no other data. What's that? Structured data. It can store the structured data. That's it, guys. So now, anyways, yesterday I told you how to log in again. I'll just refresh you once. First of all, go to the azure.com, and then after signing into the page, it will reroute you back to the portal.azure.com, portal.azure.com. It will reroute you back to the portal.azure.com, guys. This is the thing we have to do it. Then afterwards, once you click on this, can you see here? I'm just opening the same one. Directly, I'm going to the portal.azure.com today. Can you see here? Yesterday, as I told you how to log into the azure.com already. Yes, guys, everyone. So today, I'm just showing you portal.azure.com. Okay, portal.azure.com. We are going to see what's it, portal.azure.com.
Okay.
So this is the portal.azure.com. So now here you have to, when you talk about the Azure Databricks, so how to start up the process. When we talk about the Azure Databricks, guys, everyone, so this is the, the hierarchy, how the things will be available in Azure Databricks. So within an Azure Databricks session, everyone, within an Azure Databricks session, everyone. So we can have what? Within our Azure Databricks session, guys, everyone, we can, within the Azure Databricks session, we can have the following. What is that? We can have the resource group. We can have the resource group. Within the Azure Databricks session, we can have a resource group. We can have what's that? A resource group. Guys, we can have a resource group. Means what? Resource group is nothing but what? It is a main folder which holds the entire process. It is the main folder which holds the entire process. Okay. So it is the main folder which holds the entire process. So one resource group can have, what is that, guys, everyone? We can have, what's that? Within the resource group, you can have the, yes, everyone, workspace. We can have, what's that? Workspace. So now the next one. Within the workspace, we can have, what is that, everyone? Ah, within the workspace, we can have, what's that, everyone? Yes, guys, yesterday we have discussed already. What's that?
Clusters.
Yes, cluster. We can have, what's that? Cluster. And within the cluster, we can have, what's that?
Node.
Yes, finally, the final layer of this one is called as a notebook, guys. That's it, guys. So everyone see here, this is the hierarchy of the same process we have it. The first one is the resource group. Under this, we have the workspace, under which we have the cluster and the notebook. So resource group means what? Guys, everyone, I'll write a note here. It's a normal, okay, main folder, main folder. It is a main folder which holds the entire process, which holds the entire process, guys, which holds the entire process. Am I right? Which holds the entire process. Process means what? Workspace, everything. workspace, cluster, notebook, everything will be recorded. Okay, workspace, cluster, everything will be recorded. Yes, guys, workspace, cluster, all these things, everything will be recorded into what's it? It will be recorded on the within the
Resource.
resource group. Yes, within the resource group. If you delete the resource group, everything will go off. If you delete the resource group, everything will go off, as you know. Okay. So resource group is just like a main folder, you can say, as of now, for your understanding. Okay. So resource group is a main folder which holds the entire process. So whenever you delete the resource group, everything, workspace, cluster, notebook will be deleted automatically. So this is mandatory to create a resource group. Without the resource group, you can deploy the things. And now workspace means what? The workspace is nothing but this is a collaborative environment which allows multiple users to work into the session, guys. It is a collaborative environment which allows multiple users to work into the session. What is that collaborative environment? That means just like our Zoom link. This is the Zoom link where we all are being connected using the Zoom link. Okay. So Zoom link is providing interface to all of us to get connected, and take up the classes. Am I right or not? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so that means Zoom link has what is that? Zoom link is providing the interface for all of us to get connected and take the classes. So in the same way here you have workspace. So well, see, irrespective of the location, from which location you are, doesn't matter whether you are from a particular city or you're from another state or another country, it doesn't matter. Okay, anywhere from the globe you can just log in and take up the session just by using the Zoom link. Am I right or not? So Zoom is providing interface to all the users. Zoom is providing interface to all the users, okay, to join and take up the session here, take up the session. So hence we can say this is an uh, workspace is nothing but it's a collaborative environment which allows multiple users to work into the single session. That means what? A data scientist, a data engineer, everyone, a data scientist, a data engineer, a data analyst, everyone can work into the single session here. That is called as a workspace. So I'll write a one word note here. So it's a, okay guys, it's a collaborative environment which allows multiple users to work in the same session. That means what? A data engineer, a data scientist, a data analyst, okay, a data engineer, data scientist, data analyst, okay, okay, and database architect, database solution architect. All of them, they can work into the single session without leaving the session. All of them we can work collaboratively. Okay, they can work what's it? Collaboratively, they can work into the single session. That is called as what? Workspace. Whereas the next one is called as what? Cluster, guys. Cluster means what? Cluster is nothing but group of machines working like a single machine. What is that? Group of machines. That means what? You have group of machines working like a single machine. Okay, working like a single machine is called as a cluster. Okay, group of machines working like a single machine is called as a cluster. Likewise, see guys, this session is going on. Okay, this session is going on here. Am I right, everyone? The session is going on. Here, how many type of users we have it? One is the host. Can you see here? DurgaSoft is the host. Rest of all, we all are called as what? Guest here. Am I right or not? We all are the guest and DurgaSoft is the host. That means what? The link, that means this entire process is maintained or controlled by DurgaSoft. Am I right? So here, can you see here in the same way, the cluster is nothing but it is like a group of machines working like a single machine. So for example, suppose you go to an internet center. Anyways, nowadays you don't have a cyber caves, but okay, but very rarely you have it. You go to a cyber cave, what happens? There will be lot of systems available into the cyber cave, whereas they will ask you to sit on the computer number 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. But whereas that particular computer is connected with the main computer, which is kept on the reception counter, and that person will be opening that. That means the computer number 5, if he asks to sit you to there is a credentials for the computer number 5 will be opened by the main admin who is sitting at the reception counter. That means what? All of them are connected to each other. That means, and the main machine is what? Main machine is with the person who is sitting at the reception counter. He is controlling the all computers. Am I right? He is controlling all the computers. That means what? That is the main machine. All are called as what is that? Machines working. That is nothing but on the instructions of the main computer. Okay. So in the same way, cluster is like also the same. It has many, that is nothing but multiple machines working like a single machine, where it has two type of machines. That is called as what? Master machine, which we call it as a node, and then you have what's that? Worker node, worker machine. That means what? Worker node, master node, and the worker node. Master node is the main machine. Worker node is the worker node. We can have what? Many worker nodes. We can have what's that? Many worker nodes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, whatever you have it. Number of worker nodes can be more, but all of them, they work on the instructions of the master node. That means what? Suppose there is a piece of construction work going on, where this construction work site, okay, is controlled by the site engineer, is controlled by a person called site engineer. Am I right? Whereas under him, all the laborers will be working. On his instructions only, all the laborers will work. Am I right? So can we call it him as a manager? Of course. A person who manages the whole construction site and the laborers working on the same is called as what? A manager. So whereas here also the master node does the same job. Worker nodes are just like your laborers, and master node is just like your the manager, which manages the worker node. So now here you have two type of machines. The cluster have two type of machines. What are those? Master node and the worker nodes. Master node and the worker node. Yes. Whereas the next one, what is that you have it, guys? The next one you have it as a notebook. Notebook is nothing but what? It is the user interface book. It is a user interface book. It is a user interface book. It is a user interface book, right? It is a user interface book where we can write the user defined codes in various languages, such as what's that? Python, and then you can have what's that? R, and then you can have what's that? Scala, and then you can have what's that? Scala, Python, R, and SQL. So all these are the languages we can use it onto the notebook. So now guys, I'm going to start the practical now. See here everyone, how to start this. Just go here everyone, can you see here? This is the page called, I'm sharing with the screen now.
Hello, Sami sir. I have a question.
Please.
From the real time perspective, when you refer these resource groups, right? Does that mean like uh, we create those folders based on dev, QA, prod, something
Yes,
like that?
yes, something like that only.
Okay. What about the projects? Like if I have multiple projects, people are working as a team based.
See,
Will that
one
be
reason, see,
controlled at
you
a
can say,
resource group?
I'll tell you, one resource group means what? A main project. Okay, all the, basically, what are all the things, or what are all the persons you have involved in the project, all those, information will be in a one resource group. And under the resource group, suppose I don't want to spend more money. Okay. So for that, I'll create one workspace where all the resources, that is data engineers, data scientists, all of them, they can work together in one workspace itself. Okay. But for every user, that means suppose you have 3 data scientists, 2 data engineers are there. So for every one of them, I'll create one cluster. Getting my point? For every one of them, I'll create one cluster and I allocate with the cluster. and every user will have their own notebooks to write the code. Getting my point? If the data scientist, they will have their own code. They will have mostly the UI book will be there. Okay. So that means which will be, you will not have much code to be written there. So based on the users, I can just allocate them. Getting my
So
point?
these resource group takes money. I mean, it costs you. If I
They will
create
charge you.
multiple,
Yes, they will charge you based on the resource groups only, no? Of course.
oh,
Yeah.
I thought it's chargeable by the databases that you acquire, like SQL
No,
database
no,
or
no. That is the
na-
storages. As per the, because the storages also will be under the resource group only.
okay.
Whatever the
So
storages you created, na, even those storages will be the part of resource group only.
okay, but in real time, like the resource groups are like based on the environments, dev, QA, and prod. And within the resource groups, if I have to create for multiple projects, then I'll create multiple workspaces.
Workspaces, yes, exactly. And
Okay,
for
within that
multiple, yeah, for one project, if you want multiple users to work there, you will create a cluster.
can you come again? Sorry, what is it?
For one project, if you want to create multiple users,
Okay,
that means in a project, suppose I have, okay, in a development environment is there. In that development environment, one tester is there, okay, one coder is there, and one, okay, analyst is there. So for them, I'll create one cluster.
okay. One cluster can have multiple worker nodes and all that.
Yes,
Same
yes,
thing.
yes, yes.
I just have a quick question actually. How do I identify that, like it's from the particular project basically, rather than like suppose I have, a project S1 and, again, we have the same name as project S1 same. How do I identify by that?
See, basically, you will be given access only to that particular cluster or that particular resource group, which you belongs, because you will not be given the access to all, because this entire session will be controlled by the Azure admin.
Okay.
Okay, this entire session will be controlled by the Azure admin. You have a separate admin will be there. He will control it, and he will give you access only to that to which you belong, or to which you are user. That is on which you are going to work. He is not going to provide you with all the credentials, all the resource groups you can, all the workspaces you cannot access it.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So now, guys, I'm just starting up the session now. See, first of all, do one thing now. You create a resource group. This is the one way, or else directly you can create the resource group inside the Azure Databricks. Because I'm starting up now, I'll create the resource group now. See, this is the resource group. See, click on the create a resource group, any name, no naming restrictions, nothing. So I'll give it here. Can you see production RG, production RG, resource group. RG is not the, any keyword. I'm just using it for understanding purpose. Okay, production RG. Click on the create. Now the resource group is ready, guys. That's it. Nothing else. Empty folder, nothing is there. See, there is no data, no resources matched to your filter. Nothing is there now. Okay, now do one thing. I'm taking a new tab. I'm taking a new tab. Open this. So guys, the resource group is ready. Let's try to create first of all. Can you see here? Azure Databricks is there. Can you see here? You can find the thing. If not, you can type it here. Databricks. You can type it here like this. If it is not this particular access, can you see here? If you cannot find this logo here on the top, you can just type it here. Azure Databricks. Open this. Now click on the create blade. This is called as a create blade, guys. Click on the create blade. Now you have to deploy the things. See here, resource group, select it. Production RG. Same resource group. What I have created here, I'm just taking up. If not, you can create it here also. Okay. Simply click on the create button. You can create your own resource group here itself. No problem. And now it is asking for the workspace name, any name. Can you see here? So can you see here? I'm giving it production project, sorry, production project, okay, session. What is that? Production project session is the name I'm using it for my workspace. Okay, so that means the whole, can you see here? Production project session. Let's give it here as, okay. That's it. Okay. Okay. So we have used what's it? Production RG. That means let us do one thing now instead of this one. Production. Okay. Inventory, sales.
Sir, are we going to connect to this workspace? And
Yes.
we all going to work on this,
Yes.
or like
Yes.
are we going to install our own?
See, basically in real time, you don't create this workspace as well because already it is created for you. You're not going to create this workspace. Okay.
Okay.
Directly you will work onto the session. As we are getting trained here. I'm starting from the scratch level. Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
workspace is there. Workspace name is there. Inventory sales session. Okay. Sales session resources. Sales session resources is the name of my workspace. That's it. And this is being stored in the East US region data center. This is being stored in the East US region data center. And pricing tier is mine is a premium, so I'm using the premium. But if you have a free trial version, you can select the free trial version. Or else if you have a standard, you can go with the standard. Okay, whatever you want, you can use it. But mine is a premium, so it's taking by default. And this is the subscription name. This is my name. Okay, Azure Samir is my name. So I have created my subscription, so I took that name. By default, it's coming. Manage the resource group, you can leave it as it is. It doesn't matter here. Okay.
Sir, here
Ah,
in real time pricing tag,
hmm.
which is using, sir? Premium or something Apache? Which is
Obviously,
using
premium
in
they will
real
use.
time?
Premium will be there.
Okay,
Premium will
in
be.
real time.
Premium or standard will be there. There is no trial versions.
Oh, yes, yes, but that is not good. But one is that two. Okay,
Yes, yeah.
okay, sir.
That's it, guys. So click on the review. If you click on the review, it will go and check all the names, whatever you have given, is it matching with the existing names or not? If not, then you can go ahead with the creation. So click on the review. Validation. Validating. That means it will go and check whether the resource group name. See, validation succeeded. That means there is no workspace with this given name. It's not contradicting with the existing name. Click on the create.
So what are we creating here? Are we creating a machine or what exactly it is?
I'm creating the workspace now. Workspace means I'm starting up the basically session. I'm starting up the session. After the session, machines will come. See, main project is production project. Under that, inventory sales is the subcategory of that project on which we are going to work. See, inventory sales is there, inventory purchases is there, something like that. Okay. But these are the various branches I can say on which we are going to work. So this workspace creation will take some time here. 2 to 3 minutes time it will take because it has to deploy. So we can't do anything on this. You need to just wait and watch on this.
Sir, if in a project like there are like 8 to 10 different teams are there, and one team doesn't actually take request or send requests to other teams, they work independently. like individual data marts kind of stuff. So in this case, like we create like 8 different workspaces in this, or 10 different, right? One for inventory sales section.
Based on the requirements, they will take the input from us first of all. The admin team is going to take the inputs, and based on that, they are going to based on that only they will create it.
Okay.
But this creation job is actually the admin job. It's not our job to create it as a data engineer.
Basically, we are trying to migrate to Azure Server, and we are trying to replicate what we have built in SSIS and moving into this. So it's going to be exact replica, and it has different projects. So for that standpoint, you would create 8 different workspaces, right? If you are moving as is.
Yes, if at all you want, then 8 different, or else if you want, you can have one allocating all. We can get one workspace also. In that, for every different team, I can create one cluster.
Okay.
Now the workspace is ready here, guys, everyone. So I'm starting the workspace. Go to resource. The workspace is ready. Can you say go to resource? Now this is my workspace. Just I will brief you up here. See, status is active. Resource group is production RG. Location means the data center where the data is stored is East US region. Subscription is Azure somewhere. This is my subscription ID. And this is the managed resource group, which is already deployed by the system. And this is the URL based on which, because it's a cloud network, this is the URL of the cloud. And pricing tier is this one. Okay, anyways. And these are some documentations. If you want, you can refer this. Documentation on getting started, documentation on import data files, documentation on, import data from the Azure storages, documentation on the notebooks, documentation on the admin guide, and link Azure machine learning workspace. These are all documentation, nothing else. Can you see it? Just launch it, guys. Launch means starting the workspace. Now, inside the workspace, now you will have to launch the clusters. See, launching the workspace now.
So this URL is exactly the one that we see on
yes, that is called as
page?
instance. That is called as instance. That means
so we can simply bookmark this and we can launch this straight away.
You see, this is the workspace session. This is called as instance. That means this is the instance you have created now. At this instance is at this particular location. That means this is the actual direct, link for, this is direct the link for, you can say, the data center, everything. This session in having this link having every information of us. That means this is the session ID. Can you see here? Instance ID you have it. And this is the Databricks.net. And this is nothing but what? Something related to the data center. Okay. That's it. So this is the, we can say, the whole session we have it here. That's it. Now it's ready, guys. Everything is fine now. Now, what is the process you have it? See, the resource group is there. Under the resource group, we have already created the workspace. And now on the workspace, you will create the cluster now. Okay, now? So cluster means what? Here we call it as a compute, guys. We call it as what, everyone? We call it as what? Compute. On the left blade, click on the compute. Compute. Now, guys. So first of all, when you talk about the cluster varieties of cluster, you will have it. Guys, everyone, can you see here? Job cluster, pools cluster, and all-purpose cluster. Now, can you see here? Here we have the following type of clusters are there. So the first one cluster is called as all-purpose cluster. Then we have the next one as what? Second is the job cluster. Then we have the pool cluster. everyone. See here, guys, there are the three type of clusters we have it. All purpose cluster means what? Generally, the name it itself represents. For all purposes, you can use this cluster. The name it itself represents. All purpose means what? You can run a job, you can do whatever the thing you want, you can do it on the all purpose cluster. Okay. Job cluster means, and all purpose what? All purpose cluster can be created by the user, can be deleted by the user, can be terminated by the user. Getting my point? Terminated by the user. But whereas job cluster is an automated cluster which creates, when you create a job, it will automatically create it. Job means what? A task. Job means what? A task to achieve. That's it. When you create a job, automatically this cluster will create it. And then pool cluster. The pool cluster is nothing but all purpose cluster. You can create it with a pool or without pool. In a pool, all the clusters will be there. That means what? Suppose we have 100 clusters are we have created. All these 100 clusters can be created with a pool or without a pool here. Okay. So anyways, now we'll not get confused by looking into these. Okay. I will tell you this one by one, step by step. First of all, let us see all purpose cluster. All purpose cluster can be created by the user, okay, to process all type of commands here. That means what? All purpose cluster can be created here to achieve all the tasks here, all the tasks. Okay. So here can you see I'm just using the all purpose cluster. See, there is a create button here. But now go to the job cluster. There is no create button. Do you have a create button? No. That means you cannot create it. Pool cluster means what? Pool you can create it. First of all, you create the pool. Upon the pool, you'll create the cluster again. Can you see here? First of all, we'll just see the all-purpose cluster. So when I create this all-purpose cluster, click on the create. Now you get the information like this. This is the basic information which you have to provide it. What are those? Can you see here? First of all, you have to change the name. The name, if you don't want this. This is the name, default name it's taking up. Okay. But I don't want the name to be like this. So I'm using UI preview, disable this now. Now disabled. Everyone, disabled now. Now just use it here, your own name. So I'm using cluster ADB. Okay. Session 1. What's the cluster name I'm using? Cluster ADB session 1 is the cluster name I'm using it here. Okay. And now the cluster modes. The cluster modes is a very important point, guys, where this depends upon the volume of the data you receive it. If you are expecting very high volume of the data, very high, okay, that is in petabytes, okay, terabytes or petabytes, at that time, you have to use the high concurrency cluster. What is the cluster? High concurrency cluster you have to, that is nothing but use it. So whereas whenever you use the high concurrency cluster, the charges will be accordingly. If you have a high concurrency cluster, it supports what? A very high volume of the data. Okay. High concurrency cluster means what? A very high volume of the data. So all purpose cluster can be created in 3 modes. What is that? The first one is the, everyone, the first one is what? High concurrency cluster. And whereas this high concurrency cluster is what? You can create it for a very big volume of the data whenever you receive it. Okay. In the same way, you have the next one. What is that? You have it standard. Standard means what? Moderate to moderate. That means low to moderate. If you have low to moderate volume of the data, then you can go with the standard method. Okay. So these modes, whatever you are using it, based on that only you will be charged. Okay. Standard means what? Moderate to low to moderate. Low to moderate. If you have low to moderate data, then you can do, okay, based on the data you have it. So now can you say low to moderate, you can go with the standard mode of creation. And next one you have, what is that? The single node cluster. If your very small volume of the data is there, then you can go with the single node cluster. Whereas single node cluster means what, guys? The single node cluster will not have any kind of a worker nodes. High concurrency will have 2 nodes here. What is the 2 nodes? The first one is called as what? Master node and worker nodes. Whereas standard also has what is that? Guys, standard also has what's that? Master node and worker nodes. Many nodes you can have it. But single will have only what is that? Yes, everyone? Single node will have what? Only master node. No worker nodes here. No worker. Getting my point? No worker nodes. That's it. So now guys see here, everyone. So now currently I'm using it standard cluster, which has master node and worker node, just because to show you here. Okay. Then afterwards, the Databricks runtime version. That means what is the version used by the Databricks? Okay, at the time of running it. What do you have it? Databricks uses 13.3 LTS and Scala version is 2.12 and Spark version is 3.4.1. This version is for the data engineers. This version is for what? What type of users it is? It is for the data engineers, guys.
Data engineers.
If you want it to design it for a, machine learning or, visualization team, at that time we can go with ML. Machine learning, ML. This version will be, this Databricks runtime version will be used for the machine learning users. That is the data science team. Okay, which has what is that? Scala 2.12, Spark 3.5.0, whichever you want. Okay, GPU Scala 2.1.2, that is 2.12, and then you have what? Spark is 3.5.0. You can use whatever the latest version as per the requirement you have it. And uncategorized means what? This uncategorized means what? A person, suppose a person who is performing the data science job as well as the data scientist job, collaborative job. So for them, we can go with the specific one. Scala, okay, Spark version. And the Scala and Spark is there. Okay, that way you can use it here. These are the different categories in this we have it. So anyways, I'm using the that is nothing but the standard version of this one. That is called as a, for data engineers, we use the standard versions as it is. That's it. Okay. So this is the called as a Databricks runtime version. Okay. So basically this is used to create what? Clusters. The cluster, that means the cluster has the following versions. What is it? Cluster version, you will have it. Runtime version is 13.3 LTS. Scala version is 2.12. Spark version is 3.4.1 is the Spark version. Okay. That's it now. Then you have, can you see here? Photon acceleration. This will speed up the process. Photon acceleration will speed up the process. What is that? It will photon acceleration, moderate Apache Spark workloads, reduce the total cost per workload. So it will speed up the process and the cost will be reduced whenever we use this. It is just a type of an acceleration button. You can use it here. It's an acceleration button, nothing more than that. Okay. Then under the sorry, autopilot options, under the autopilot options, you have this one. What is that? Enable auto scaling and terminate after 120 minutes. Enable auto scaling. What is this? Let us try to understand this. There is a piece of construction work going on. Everyone, there is a piece of construction work going on. You call 10 workers. You call 10 workers. And now, as soon as you call them, you are a manager. Let us say you are a manager of a construction site, and for completing the piece of work, you call 10 workers. 10 workers has reached. Now at the end of the day, do you need to pay for all the 10 workers or not? Yes, guys. As a
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. My question is that you are a construction site manager. You, for completing the piece of construction work, you call 10 workers. So at the end of the day, do you need to pay all the 10 workers?
Yes, we need to pay.
Yes.
You have to pay. Now, as soon as they reached your site, you realize that 10 workers may not be required to complete this piece of work because it's a small piece of work. What you did is you hired 5 of them and 5 of them you released it. saying that I don't need you, you come tomorrow. At that time, for how many workers you will be paying it?
5 members.
5 members only. Why? Because to reduce the cost, you have taken the decision. Because the piece of work is small, to complete that, you hired only 5 workers. 5 of them you released it. In the same way, the number of worker nodes required, based on the volume of the data, based on the volume of the input, data, that is decided by the enable auto scaling. That means it will automatically measures based on the volume of the data how many worker nodes are needed. See, minimum worker nodes is 2, maximum is 8, it says. If I use this enable auto scaling, if 4 workers are used, only it will choose 4 workers, rest of the 4 workers it will release it. So you need not pay for the 8 workers now. Though you have selected maximum as 8, but only 4 workers are in use, 4 worker nodes are in use. So only you need to pay for 4 workers. Getting my point? So the minimum is 2 and the maximum is 8 for the current session. If I'm just disabling this, then you have to pay for how many workers? See here.
8.
8 workers. Standardly, you have to pay for 8 workers.
Yes,
So for cost consuming, okay, for saving the cost, I can use the enable auto scaling option, where the system automatically measures based on the volume of the data, how many workers is needed. Minimum is 2, maximum is 8 for this particular cluster. But now, actually, it can be one of the interview question. What is the maximum worker nodes you can allocate for a cluster? That is a question.
8.
No, it is 1 lakh clusters. How many? 1 lakh cluster, maximum of 1 lakh cluster. See, I'm giving 10 lakhs. It says what? The maximum must be between 0 and 1 lakh only. Getting my point?
Cluster. Okay, sir.
The minimum is, okay, it says 0, but don't 0 cluster means no use. So minimum is 2 and the maximum is 1 lakh cluster you can give it. 1 lakh.
It is for all work type, right?
Yeah, but actually, if you need to go with the 1 lakh cluster, 1 lakh worker nodes, then we go with the high concurrency rather than use.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the thing. So anyways, so 1 lakh we can have it here. Okay, maximum of 1 lakh. So now, anyways, I will go with the default 2 to 8 here. Minimum is 2, maximum is 8 workers currently. That's
Suppose if the worker nodes are like more if it needs more 10 or something like that, and we have restricted 8, it will not go beyond 8, right?
Yes, it will not go beyond 8. The maximum is 8 only.
Okay, all right, got it. Thank you.
That you can change it. Once created also, you can change it. Suppose you created the cluster with 8 worker nodes. Later on, you realized that the worker nodes need to be increased from 8 to 15. So at that time, you can edit the cluster and you can change it.
This will have an impact in the cost as well, right?
Obviously, cost will be there. For everything, cost will be there. Now, that's it. Now, this is the maximum worker nodes you have it. That's it. Now, this is the version for every worker node. Every worker node uses the version called standard DS3 V2 version, which is actually every worker has 14 GB of the memory and 4 cores. 14 GB of the 8 means what? Every one of it will have 14 GB of the memory and 4 cores. And driver node is what? The version of the driver node same as worker. That means whatever the worker is using, the driver is also the same. But you can change it individually. You can change it. See here, I can have the following. Instead of 14 GB, I can have what is that? 28 GB is also there with 8 cores. 56 GB is also there with 16 cores. Okay. Likewise, we can have various. Can you see here? Standard DS3 is there. And likewise, standard V3 is there. These are the various versions you can use it. But I'm using a default one. That's it now. That's it, guys. This is the thing we have it, the basic one. And now, one more option that is called as a terminate after 120 minutes. That means continuously, if you're not using the cluster, for 120 minutes, that means 2 hours, then it will be auto terminated. Why terminating? Because once it is terminated, it will become idle cluster. It will become what? Idle cluster. And for idle cluster, Databricks is not going to charge. Okay, that's the reason why this termination. This termination time, you can reduce it, guys. You can reduce it to the minimum of 10 minutes. See here, minimum 10 minutes should be there, not below the 10 minutes.
So the worker type and the driver type
See,
is the master.
interval between 10 minutes to 10,000 minutes. Tell me now.
The worker type and the driver type is the master node and the worker node, right? Is that right?
Yeah. This is the version for the worker node, and this is the same version we use for the driver node.
No. What I mean to say, worker type is master node, and the driver node is worker.
Driver is called nothing but the master node only. Driver or master, any name you can use it.
What is the worker node here?
Worker node is this one.
Okay. It's other way around. Okay, all right. Okay.
Driver or master node is same, guys. Worker node or worker type is also the worker node. That's it now. Okay, so you can give it the minimum time is 10 minutes and maximum time is 10,000 minutes for inactive of the cluster. That's it. This is the basic thing you have it. Okay, that's it, guys. This is the thing you have it. Just click on the create.
Does the 10 minutes rule applies for the whole team within that cluster, or like?
Yeah, within the team which is working in this cluster, it is applies for all of them.
So like 10 members are included in that cluster?
Yes. If some of the 10 members are there, but 2 members are not using, 8 of them are using, that means it won't get terminated.
Okay.
That means
Sir, one more
unused.
quick question.
Yeah.
One more quick question. When it comes to the worker type, you selected like 14 GB and 4 core, right? Is there any thumb rule while selecting this worker types? Because
no,
if the SQL services, if the SQL database service we are running, it is running on dual core or maybe higher, then if it is much higher than that service, what is the user using this worker type? Because the SQL service.
See, we have many versions, not only the one version. We have many versions are there. DS V3 is there, DS V4 is there. Okay. DS V5 is there. Many versions are there. You will have a list of all the versions in that. You can choose accordingly.
Okay, meaning like my question was like, is there any thumb rule that these types should always be lesser than the SQL service? It can be any. Is there anything like that?
No, nothing like that. It can be. It's nothing like that. But the frequency should match.
Okay. So if it is running on 16, then we have to use 16.
More than 16, you can use it.
Okay.
So this cluster is creating, and this creation will take some time. Okay. So
what is the DBU per hour?
Pardon me?
What is the DBU per hour?
Database units. Database units you're talking about. Database units.
Yeah, it says DBU per hour 4 to 14.
Sorry, I'm not getting you.
It says
database units. That is database units.
Okay, if there 4 to 14 is giving, right?
Yeah.
Per hour.
Yes, per hour.
What is the 4 and 14?
See, this is the minimum 4 to 14. Speed of the same.
Units.
Yes.
1 unit. Okay. When to use, sir, this one?
Which one?
DBU. Okay, just
see, basically, this is the default option based on the version, whatever you're selecting here. Now, this will automatically comes here. You need not select it manually on this.
Oh, based on the version, it comes, right? DBU.
Yes. Database units. per hour is driven by the Databricks runtime version and the driver worker size. That's it. If you change the size here, automatically this will change.
So, is there any material, sir, like any books or papers, sir?
Yes,
What
material will be there. They'll be providing you.
Okay, that's good. If everything is available, right? But,
Yeah. They'll
not
upload
telling
you in the Google
directly
Drive.
class. Some we are going through that one. That is better.
Yes. Anyways, this is creating.
I think it got created, right?
Yeah, it's created, guys. Fine now. So finally, the notebook. Upon the running cluster, you have to create a notebook. See, this is a notebook. That's it now. Try this. Notebook is ready. You can label your notebook with any name. So I'm using it. Sample notebook. That's it, guys. The notebook is ready now. Fine, everyone. Sample notebook is ready. Now this is the things we have it. Okay. And rest of the things we will just see it tomorrow. How to use this notebook, what are the languages we can use it here, what are the different codes we can use it, that we will see tomorrow. Okay, guys?
So this notebook is going to be shared between other members as well?
You can share it between the environment as well. You can run this notebook in ADF, Synapse, anywhere you can use this notebook as well.
What I meant was like, is this going to be personal? Like when you mentioned sample notebook, is this going to be personal? Or
Yeah,
like all team members will have access to the sample notebook?
That depends upon the criteria, whether you want to create it or you want it to, there is a shade between everyone, between every this thing, or you want to have it in a specific this thing, that you can decide it anyways. So anyways, once it is done, guys, I'll just okay. Tomorrow we will discuss rest of the part of this, guys. Okay. Thank you. So the time is up now. I have other batch to take up. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir, and the rest all.
Yeah, thank you. So tomorrow we'll meet again the same time, guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
7 o'clock.
sure.
Bye bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.